everyone, and welcome back to Step by Step with Melissa. Today we're going to do an appetizer, and our appetizer today is going to be a petite naan bread pizza, and this pizza is going to be a chorizo, apple, kale and basil pizza, along with mozzarella cheese and a very special vinaigrette reduction. And that vinaigrette reduction is going to consist of balsamic vinegar and, believe it or not, a handful of cherry jelly beans. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with the reduction because it takes about 15 minutes. So for the reduction, I've got a saucepan here, and I've got some measuring cups. Probably shouldn't be using liquid with these types of measuring cups. I should be using a liquid measuring device or system, but that's okay for me. I'm not actually being too precise, so it doesn't matter. But I'm going to pour in approximately a cup of balsamic vinegar. There we go. Okay. And then I am going to throw the jelly beans into the pot, and we are going to simmer this over medium low heat for about 15 minutes until it reduces. It's going to thicken a little bit more after it cools down, but it'll be a nice addition to the pizza, and it's not going to be like a runny vinaigrette. It's going to be a nice reduction, thick reduction. So anyway, we'll continue with that, and then we'll get back to the pizza. Okay, everyone, so while we are waiting for the balsamic reduction, we are going to go ahead and just prep for the pizza. So as you can see here, I've got mozzarella. I'm only going to use about half of it, but I'm just going to make some slices, and we'll cut them again to make sure that they fit the pizza. But that's all that we really need, is about a half a ball of mozzarella. Then we've got our apple, and I'm just going to cut it at the top here, and then I'm going to cut it again, and this is how I'm going to de-seed it, like this, and then this. It should pop right out, but if not, you just have to wiggle it a little bit, and there we go. Got most of it out. Okay. And we're going to keep the skin on because that's the most nutritious part anyway. This time I'm just going to go like this to cut the center out. See if that works better. There we go. Okay, then I'm just going to make some apple slices. You can cut them as thin or thick as you'd like, but this is going to add a nice sweet element again with the to the pizza, and it's going to contrast really well with the chorizo, and the balsamic is going to go well with it too. So we've got that, and then we're going to do what's called a chiffonade with the basil. So I've put the basil leaves on top of each other. I'm just going to wrap them up here, and then I'm just going to slice very thinly. This is called a chiffonade. Okay, there we go. And then with our kale, we're just going to take some pieces here, wrap it up, and kind of do the same with the kale. Chiffonade the kale. Chiffonade, I don't know, maybe that's the verb in French, which I think has something to do with curl, but I'm not sure. I think I'm wrong, but okay. So then we're going to take about half and half here. We're just going to mix, actually, you know what, we're just going to mix the whole thing up. And that way we've got a basil kale chiffonade that we're going to put over the pizza. It's going to be a really nice accent. Okay, looks like our reduction is boiling, so I'm going to turn it down a little bit so it can simmer, and we'll just give it a little stir. few minutes, and then we'll be ready to start putting the pizza together. Shit. Ah! Darn it. Oh, okay everyone, sorry about that. I had the broiler on because I wanted it to heat up, but apparently my cheesecake from last week kind of dripped down, and that's what we're smelling. Smoky cheesecake. First cheesecake. Anyway, so I thought I'd go ahead and start prepping the naan bread. So I've got some olive oil here, and I'm just gonna put the olive oil on top of the naan bread. And then we are going to put it in the broiler for a little bit on its own, just to get kind of crisp. So let's go ahead and do that. This is one of those broilers that's down underneath. Okay. In the meantime, I've got the chorizo, which is about 4 ounces. That's frying up, and we've still got our reduction. And we've got, as you can see, everything prepped and ready to go. Okay everyone, well, welcome back. I went ahead and I basted the back sides of the naan bread and put them under the broiler for a little bit as well, so I just wanted to let you know that. We've got our vinaigrette, which is thickening up as it cools, but you can see that it's not a vinaigrette, I'm sorry. Our vinaigrette reduction, and cherry jelly bean reduction. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by changed my mind. I was going to do the chorizo, but we're going to start off by placing randomly the apples onto the naan bread. Okay. You can see how nicely that looks, or how nice that looks, sorry. Okay. And then we're going to top it with our chorizo, which is quite oily. So I actually ended up, let me get a fork. I actually ended up taking some of the grease out, just because I didn't want our pizzas to be too greasy. So I drained the grease. But you can see it's fully cooked. And it looks great. Not speaking of, but I think I should mention it again, my little fire alarm issue that just came out. I thought, and I told you just a little bit earlier, that perhaps it could have been the cheesecake that I made last week, and then maybe the drippings fell down into the bottom of the oven. But I don't think so. I don't think so, because I was looking at this little setup here, and when I turned on the fan, the vent fan, nothing comes, there's no fan under here, so it can't take in any of the smoke. But it's here, and it's pushing everything out and up. So of course my alarm's going to go off, and of course everything's going to get smoky. So I think I'll have to put in a maintenance request for that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to add the mozzarella. Again, just randomly. And then we're going to put it in the oven and let it bake in the oven. We might put it under the broiler depending on our smoke situation here. But I'm going to put it in the oven for about, well, until the cheese melts. Under about 375, maybe even up to 425. I'll play with it and just see, because I don't want to burn it. I'm also going to top this with some salt and a little bit of pepper. Okay. So we'll put this in the oven, and then we'll be right back. Okay everyone, well, we're back. I do have to admit one thing. I did find the culprit. There really was some gunk at the bottom of the oven. Cleaned it up. Now everything's fine. So we've got, and I ended up just broiling the naan because it was so much easier, and since I didn't have smoke coming out of the oven, everything went fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to not drizzle, but we're going to sprinkle the chiffonade, the kale and basil chiffonade over the naan pizzas. I want to make sure you get a nice combo of both. And then I am going to go ahead and cut them before we put on our glaze or our reduction. There you go, into a little bite-sized bite. Here. And I'll continue plating and I'll be right back. Okay everyone, I've managed to put 2 naan pizzas onto this plate, and then I'll put the other 2 for our other guests. I've plated it. We've got our glaze or our reduction, and I'm just going to simply coat each pizza with the glaze. Et voila! And there you go. Bon appetit, everyone. Wow, this was a disaster. I just wanted to let you know I forgot to take a bite, and I just did. And this is amazing. It's an amazing combination, but it's delicious.